How's it going, fellow young calves? Zach.
And I'm Tyler.
And
Hi.
we are here to do some MCU review.
MCU review.
My mic's not pointing to me. There we go. To do some MCU review. Now, you guys already know what it is. MCU review is the show where we review different content from the MCU. It could be stuff from Iron Man all the way to current things. However, whenever there is a new show or new movie, that is what we will be reviewing. So, WandaVision has just started. We are on the second week, but the third episode. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, we're going to be reviewing WandaVision for the next 7 weeks, or for the next 6 weeks, counting today.
Yeah.
7, whatever. We're going to be reviewing WandaVision.
It's tricky. They dropped the first 2 episodes last week. They threw us all off.
We're thrown through a loop.
For sure.
But yeah.
In more ways than one, for sure, with this show.
Yeah, man. So, let's just get to it. We are on, as Tyler calls it, the MCU what? Hype train.
Oh, MCU hype train. Well,
that was my fault.
No, originally it was...
We didn't go over an intro.
We are on the Spidey hype train.
For
Spider-Man
right.
at the end of the year. So, Spidey is kind of what we're super hyped for. But yeah, no, MCU hype train all year long, for sure. I think that we are in for some very special surprises coming this year.
Ooh, I love surprises. What kind of surprises do you think we're in for?
A ton.
I guess we should also say we don't get into spoilers right away. We just kind of give our quick feelings about the show for like the first quarter of this, and then for the last 3 quarters where it's spoilers away.
Yeah,
but we will give you warning, and we will give you chance to run and throw your phone into the ocean, or if you're in like Vegas, throw your phone into the desert. We will give you plenty of warning to get rid of these spoilers, so no worries there. But yeah, man, so let's get started.
This episode, episode 3, was just...
We're in the
70s.
We're in the 70s now, yeah.
That's not a spoiler.
That's not.
Really?
No. Yeah. I mean, I always hate when... You ever get, like, when people are, like, I'm very anti-spoiler. I'm very responsible. People are like, you have a week. I'm like, you have more than a week. Come on. Like, let's not...
People's
but,
lives
like,
are busy out there.
I'm very anti-spoiler.
Not everybody can catch it at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. And I can't stand when you say, like, the most, like, whatever thing. Like, oh, yeah, so, you know, you got Wanda and Vision, and they're, like... It's like a sitcom, and they're married. Whoa, spoiler! We're going to be giving you basic details that you would see in the trailer when we go over these plot synopsises. So,
and this one's particularly hard not to talk about without spoiling.
Yeah, so I guess to get that out of the way quickly, we are in the 70s.
Yeah.
And the previous 2 episodes, you know, we were much more in the past. Everything was black and white, and at the end of episode 2, you know, we finally transitioned to in color, which is the name of this episode, right? It's in, what is it, Now in Color is the name of episode 3, I believe.
I don't know if these have names.
This one definitely was called Now in Color. I don't know what episode 1 and 2 were named, but this one, you can pull it up on your laptop if you want. I think I'm the only one on camera, right? Yeah, I'm the only one on camera.
I think they just did that as a callback to this.
Oh, I thought it was the title. Well, either way, this episode is in color. It is now in color.
This is the first one in color.
Yes.
Yes.
And it looks like, you know, from here on out we'll probably be in color. But it was super cool. It felt like I was watching, you know, I didn't grow up with these shows, but I kind of did because Nick at Night. You know,
they were reruns for sure.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to ask, what did it feel the most like to you? Like, as far as older sitcoms go from the 70s?
Definitely Brady Bunch. For sure.
There was a callback to that in the intro. I appreciated that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that a lot.
Definitely Brady Bunch. It was huge. I'm not very well versed in shows from that time, so... Brady Bunch vibes for sure.
For sure.
Oh, we have some chats.
Yeah. Oh,
that's cool.
Very nice.
Hello, everyone.
Nice. Hi guys, how you doing? I know I really liked just the.
Oh, thank you, WNG fan. He says the whole concept of this show is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole concept of
Oh, wait, you meant
WandaVision.
WandaVision?
Yeah, I was gonna
Wow,
try.
I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yes, the whole concept
Yeah,
of
no,
two
of course the
two
show.
dudes reviewing the MCU. Man, this is mind blowing stuff.
Isn't that funny that I took it that way? That's hilarious.
You
Okay.
guys can see that Tyler is very excited to be bringing you these MCU reviews.
I am. I'm very excited to talk about
Drop a
this stuff.
like for Tyler's excitement if you haven't dropped a like yet. That sort of earnesty.
Yes.
Earnestness.
Earnesty always says something else.
It deserves
More
it.
crazy shenanigans in this episode.
Yes.
This was definitely a very zany episode.
Yeah, I guess
But
we
so
should
was
just
the
blow
second
through
one.
the non-spoilers so we
Yeah,
can get
it's
to
really
the zaniness.
hard not to spoil
Yeah,
the show.
I don't. So okay, plot of this episode. What would you rate it? We'll just kind of just jump
The
straight to
plot of this
ratings.
episode.
Out of 5 or out
Well,
of 10, it doesn't matter.
So let's go. You liked this movie. I almost called it a movie.
I loved this episode.
You loved this episode more than I did. I guess if you know the comics, and I don't know, I just was like, oh, okay, this makes sense that this would be the next episode after the one we had. So
Okay.
there was really no, other than like the one thing that was
Mhm.
dropped, and then happens at the end. It's like the only thing that was like, oh, cool. But
I loved it. I thought it dumped on the mystery even more. I thought there was a lot of really cool moments in the dialogue that I definitely think are not just foreshadowing, but also like symbolism and whatnot. Like this whole episode, man, and yeah, it was zany as all get out.
It was
like
wild.
it was bonkers, but it somehow like. So I guess my thing with this is the first two, they didn't really feel like they fit into the MCU, kind of like we were talking about, and we were saying, you know, this is the new MCU,
right.
but we're not used to that yet, so it
Right.
like feels different and it feels where this episode, this was like completely strange, but then I kind of was like, you know, if I wasn't a Marvel fan and I was watching this, like if I had no clue what this was and I was just like, oh, let me check out this new WandaVision show, I'd be like, oh, it's like spoofing the old sitcoms. I'd be like, but it's not really spoofing. Like, it's taking it serious, kind of like how Ant-Man, like, it is like heist movies, you know, but it also takes itself seriously. Like, it's like, okay, he controls ants. That's goofy.
Right.
We're going to acknowledge that it's goofy, but that's not going to be the joke. We're still going to do everything we can to do it its justice.
Mm.
But then at the same time, there was some moments where you're like, whoa, something, and like this is if I wasn't, you know, if I had no clue what this was or who these people were, there's these moments where I'd be like, whoa, something's going on. And almost like Stranger Things-esque to me, where like that amount of mystery in the first few episodes of that show that just kind of captivate you. You're like, oh, this is like, you know, the 80s, and like it's all this nostalgia, but there's like something weird going on.
Right.
And you're showing me that there's something weird, but you're not showing me enough where I know what the weird thing is.
Right. Until this episode, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'd say even in this episode, if you're not in,
Well, yeah.
if you're,
I guess you don't know.
if you're not you'd be like, what in the world?
Yeah, that thought was coming from my perspective is like
As someone who reads the
who knows what's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, but so this was my favorite episode. I know I said I was kind of the first episode. If you watched these other reviews we did, I was like a little indecisive. The second episode, I was like, okay, I'm in. But I still was like, I have room to go up or down.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, after I watched it, I was like, this could have been the first episode. I loved it.
And this is how this is going to go, guys. I was like, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. But throughout this discussion, he's going to get me to love the episode because this is how it always goes. I'm always like, and then like sometimes months later or whatever, my opinion changes because he convinces me. This happens almost all the time, so just get ready.
Yeah, what could I say? You know, my enthusiasm is contagious. And I don't normally dislike things, but I guess when I do, my disdain is a little contagious too. No, I let people enjoy things. But all right,
Yeah,
so
no. He respects my point of view, but there's always that. Okay, we know how this is gonna end. 2-3 months from now or 4 months from now, because it's so funny because I come to him and I'm like, you know what I was thinking, that this and this, and then he's like, yeah, that's kind of like what we talked about, like when we saw the movie, and I was like, oh, okay. So,
but with that, I think it's time to jump into the spoilers because we can't discuss this episode.
It was a good
without
episode.
discussing spoilers.
WNG fan gives this episode an 8 out of 10.
Very nice. I give it at least that much.
That much. We'll maybe give our ratings at the end.
Actually, keep talking a little more because I need to troubleshoot on your camera for a second.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna switch to you so I'm not in the way.
For sure. But yeah, keep talking. So, I definitely enjoyed this episode. I really loved, if we're talking about performances, I mean, Elizabeth Olsen's performance was awesome. Like, the best performance I've seen her give is Wanda, you know? Like,
yeah, I would
agree with that. She really, like, I don't want to spoil what happens, but man, you're like,
well, just say with the zaniness, she had to do a lot of different things.
Up and down. It's
and
like,
she did them convincingly.
And this episode is what? Without credits is like 30 minutes or something like that?
I think, what is it? It's 34?
Yes.
With credits. So I think, and the credits, it's like, they're like 8 different languages. So they're like 7 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's like 28 minutes, I think.
To go from one extreme to the other extreme, I don't want to spoil anything. We're about to get into spoilers, but like, man,
she kills
That's a lot to that's not easy to do in 30 minutes of performance.
So with that, it is time. It is time for the spoilers.
Okay.
You guys got 10 seconds, but I'm going to count by 2s, so it's really like 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
So we got 10, 8, 6. Tyler, you gotta do the fingers.
What?
6. I can't do the finger. Yeah, 4,
5,
2, 0.
Oh, we were doing 2s.
Vision is red.
We were doing 2s.
Oh, did you see? When I said vision is red, it reminded me. Did you see the goof in today's episode? I saw it on Facebook.
No.
At some point when
Starbucks?
that's what people are comparing it to. It's nowhere near as much.
Oh,
his sleeve, you know how it's like a dress, not a dress shirt, but it's like a button up, you know? So you know how the sleeves have the button at the end, and then like you could see his skin, and it wasn't painted, but his face and his hands were.
Interesting.
So they were like, they've been lying to us this whole time.
That's funny.
It cracked me up. And someone said, I didn't notice it when I was watching the show. I meant to look for it, but I forgot. But
that's
one of the comments I saw. Someone was like, "They're totally gonna fix that. Like they got rid of the person and the jeans guy," and I'm just like, that'll be just rotoscoping red for a second.
For sure.
That's a fun job.
But all right, if we get into it, spoilers. We'll talk about spoilers. We'll talk about what happened in the episode, and then we'll talk about our theories and speculation.
So, you guys stuck with me for my very long synopsis of episodes 1 and 2 the first time. I've been working on this ahead of time, so that way we can keep the whole plot under 30 seconds for the most part, and then dive into more. So the general plot of this episode is Wanda is pregnant, and that's where the last episode ended. She was pregnant out of nowhere, but that's continuing. But not just is she pregnant out of nowhere, just as quick as she became pregnant, she is flying through her pregnancy. And then she has a baby. Or she has 2 babies. Twins. Woo! Twins. But that's basically like the whole thing that's going on with this episode, other than the weirdness, which we'll get into in a minute. The people, and I guess in a minute I mean now, the neighbors, the other people in this town in it's called Westview, right? I'm just gonna assume that it is.
Sorry, I'm looking at chat. I thought you were talking to
the town is called Westview.
It is called Westview.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. They're all acting super strange, and no one knows why. But maybe they do. They're not really letting on. But Vision kind of notices what's going on, and this is like right after Wanda gives birth, and they kind of tell him, they're like, and Geraldine is in the house with Wanda, and they're like talking about Geraldine a little bit, and he's like, what about her? And they're basically like, Where did she come from? She has no house. She has no husband. She doesn't have a home here.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have a job. Isn't that strange? And then not Agnes, Agatha, whatever, it's the same person. But then Agnes, who
around here,
we got to see some interesting sides of her. She looked more afraid than mischievous. But we'll get to that in a minute too. She was kind of like, like, don't say anything to him about this stuff. And while all this is happening, Geraldine, Maxine, is with Wanda inside, and Wanda's feeling all sorts of like weird things, and she remembers her brother. She remembers Pedro. And Geraldine says, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And Wanda's like, what? And then she's basically like, get out. Vision comes in. He's like, where's Geraldine? Wanda's like, she left. And then we cut to her flying through this like space cloud force field thing.
It looked like television static.
Yeah, it looked like television
very much
static.
Like the image that's behind us. Exactly like the image that's behind us.
I didn't even catch, like I did, but I kind of thought it was just the force field. So like, good catch on that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she goes flying through that. She lands on the ground, and all of these people and helicopters. And is that the same helicopter that we saw in the first episode? I couldn't tell.
I don't think so.
Okay. Our second episode? But
second episode.
Yeah. But and this helicopter shining a spotlight on her, and all these people come and
it looked like they got there fast.
Yeah.
So they were monitoring, like they knew that she flew out of there.
Did you see a sword symbol anywhere? But that's a whole episode, guys.
No.
Because I didn't see a sword symbol anywhere. I only watched it once.
They were definitely camped outside of that
mm-hmm.
bubbled force field thing for sure. They've been there. They're there. They set up camp. So, but yeah, that's the episode in a nutshell.
And throughout all of that, just the most zany wackiness is happening. Is something that I should add. When Wanda is, experiencing the baby kicking, stuff is like breaking and whatnot. Yep. When
it rains.
When she's like, my water broke, the sprinklers turn on. When she's having contractions, it's like an earthquake. Like, it is wild.
It's pretty crazy.
She paints a stork in the bedroom wall.
Yeah, that's the zaniest thing about the episode too. And I loved the I'm just gonna call her Monica, sorry. Geraldine, Monica's pants.
Yes.
Had fish on them.
Yes.
And so the stork was eating the fish pants.
I thought
that was great.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that.
And the practical beak.
Yeah, I know, and it's
practical.
It's just somebody doing this.
Practical means that just means like it wasn't a digital effect. It wasn't added later. It was actually like something that they used on set and filmed for real. And it's just that little tiny little beak that's. I thought that was awesome.
No, I agree. Did you notice anything weird about the stork?
No. What? Other than that, the stork itself was kind of strange.
She couldn't get rid of it. She kept trying
to... Oh, yeah, true. But
she kept trying to use her powers on it, and it just kept going through the red cloud.
So interesting. Could you see the red cloud? It's so...
The first time I saw the red cloud, I thought it was just the stork, like, being extra magical and weird.
Right. I thought it was just her powers being out of control.
But then it cuts back to her later, and we see she's trying to get rid of it, and she straight up looks at it, and she goes... And then that's when the red cloud, like, poofs around it as if it's, like, teleporting or whatever. And then it's just, like...
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And she tries it a couple times, but she can't get rid of it.
I only saw this once.
Same here.
I didn't watch it. I didn't rewatch it, so...
But... So that was interesting to me, because she's got power over everything. She made the sprinklers go off. She turned the sprinklers off after she made them go off. But she couldn't control this stork.
W&G fan says, Stork versus Thanos.
Stork versus Thanos. Yeah.
That's going to be a what if episode.
Oh, that would be the best what if episode ever. Turns out the stork is the Beyonder. He's behind all this. But no, so I thought that was interesting. I don't necessarily know why. I don't have any theories on why. But,
I don't know.
It was interesting to me.
Still a ton of questions.
One thing that I loved is because I didn't see this in the first episode when they were at the dinner, and I didn't have a chance to rewatch this episode because I've just been so busy working on my booth and some audio stuff. But you were talking about when they were all at dinner together, WandaVision and the Hearts, that when Mr. Hart is choking and his wife's just like, haha, honey, stop it, stop it. And I was like, yeah, that's so weird, she just keeps doing that. You pointed out how she turns to Wanda and looks at, and like they do a cut, and she looks like right at Wanda, and then she goes, stop it, as if instead of telling her husband to stop, now she's asking Wanda to make him stop. And that's when Wanda says, what she say? She says, Vision, help him. Yeah, that's when she says, Vision, help him. So we know she has like power over these people here. And in the very beginning of the episode, the next door neighbor is cutting the hedges. And not just is he cutting the hedges, but he's cutting into the fence. And I immediately was like, homeboy's trying to break out. Like, he's trapped here. He's surrounded by a wall, and he is trying to get through this wall. He's trying to get back to the real world, to get out of this world that Wanda has modified. Because I don't think she created it anymore. I think she's modified it. But, so I loved that. And then the doctor mentioned after leaving their house in the beginning, going to the Bermuda Triangle, which you don't vacation there. That's where bad things happen. But thankfully, when Vision gets to his house, because Wanda's in labor, he's having car troubles. He can't go. He once again is stuck. He was trying so hard to leave. He was doing whatever he could to fix his car. But he is also stuck in Westview. And I found both of that very interesting, because I'm like, okay, these people, I don't know what degree, like, kind of. So Vision had this moment where he was like, this is strange, this is weird. And then the show cuts back to right when he started saying that, and then I forget how they changed it, but he was basically just like, it's strange that all this stuff happens with the babies and whatnot, but that's what happens when you have powers, or something like that. I forget exactly the effect. But so we know, like, she can manipulate the memories, so to speak, of these people. So that's why I was, especially because Geraldine said she didn't remember anything in the beginning. So that's where I'm like, okay, wait a second. So these people are all real people, and they're here against their will. How much do they know?
Yep.
Like, do they, like, are they flip-flopping between just like, yes, this is my life, this is where I belong, and then all of a sudden breaking into a moment of like, I gotta get out of here? Or are they just in this constant, like, prison? I loved this episode, man.
Yeah. If we want to get into a little bit of theory and speculation, I think the theory that I have, yours takes that a step further, and I think you might actually be closer than mine. But I think that what the setup to everything was, Wanda and Sword were working together. For those who don't know, I think Mephisto is at play here. I think Mephisto wants the children, so I think Mephisto's at play. I think Wanda and Sword were working together. They brought Wanda in for battle. I don't know what word to use, but I guess like figure out or battle Mephisto. And then when she finally met up with Mephisto, Mephisto basically makes her a deal and says, okay, I can give you Vision back. We can bring Vision back, and I can give you children.
And for those of you who don't know, Mephisto is basically like Marvel's super powered up version of the devil. And like the comics that he's in straight up have like they're called Don't Make a Deal with the Devil, or Deal with the Devil. I mean, that's a Spider-Man comic with Mephisto. Like he is straight up Marvel Satan, but he's very powerful. I would say, we saw Dormammu in Doctor Strange. I'd say Mephisto makes Dormammu look like some, a kid who just got their powers. Exactly. Where Mephisto is like mastered it all and just so much more powerful. But that's just Mephisto for those of you who don't know. You can continue.
But yeah, no, so I think that's initially what happened, and then once she starts talking to Mephisto, she makes some sort of deal or something, or he convinces her to create this reality. And so either she created the reality or all her own, or they're doing it together. But yeah, I think that's kind of what's up. You have a different theory.
Yeah, I do. Well, also, too, playing off of what you were saying, because you told me a little bit more about it earlier, too. You said the same thing, just in a little more detail about the deal that she would have made with Mephisto. But W&G fan actually said the same thing, which is she made a promise with Mephisto, because that's what he does, kind of the whole, like, you sell your soul to the devil type trope and all these old stories. With Mephisto, you make a deal with him, and there's always a terrible condition. But, so he's saying that they made a deal with Mephisto to have a normal life. And
oh, you think that they both made the deal?
Well, that's just what that comment says, but I know that you were saying...
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so many different ways that this could
go. I know you were mentioning earlier that...
Yours is pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, I do like mine, especially because Mephisto's not really in play yet with mine.
Right. Well, you also incorporate another group that's heavily teased in this show.
They've been in 2/3 of the episodes. Did they have a presence in the last episode? In episode 2? I don't know. Well, for sure, 2 out of 3 episodes. I thought that was the first episode. The toaster was the first. Yeah, I watched them back to back, right? Because they're.
But yes.
So you have Hydra, who has been in 2 out of 3 of these episodes, and Hydra, is Captain America. They originated in Captain America: First Avenger, and they were the main antagonists in Captain America: Winter Soldier. And also, too, they're the ones who created Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch using the Mind Stone in Age of Ultron. So we've seen their symbol teased twice. So we can assume Hydra's not gone yet. And it's like they say, you chop off the head, another grows in, or 2 more grow back in its place. Yeah. But the Marvel Universe, the MCU, is a wild place right now, because you have Hydra, who infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., and you had double agents. But now Captain Marvel introduced us to the Skrull, who appeared again in Spider-Man Far From Home. So they can disguise themselves as anybody. So now we have the possibility of like triple and quadruple agents, because you could have a Skrull who's part of Hydra that's infiltrated this, but everyone in Hydra thinks the Skrull is just a regular member of Hydra, but really it's a Skrull working for S.W.O.R.D. for Nick Fury, pretending to be the... it just gets so, like...
It's going to get wild.
It's going to get absolutely bonkers. Like, more bonkers than this episode was. But basically, there's just so many different allegiances, and these things are about to get very, very complicated. So Vision was created in Avengers Age of Ultron. Jarvis existed. He's mostly Jarvis, but Ultron's brain is in him as well. Ultron was uploading Ultron created Vision's body out of vibranium, and he was uploading his consciousness to it, but he had to keep unplugging to fight the Avengers, and they eventually stole that body, and it was like 92% uploaded or something like that. They realized, okay, Ultron tried to destroy Jarvis because Jarvis was a threat to him, and he couldn't destroy him, and Jarvis is the one who was able to beat Ultron. He kept changing the nuclear codes on him so he couldn't launch the nukes. So they decide, okay, let's put Jarvis in this body, and create this new consciousness. And it was basically Tony called him he said like he's all the pros of Ultron without the messed up ideals or something like that, or the murderous ideals. So if Jarvis, or now Vision, is made from Ultron and Jarvis, the thing that was holding that together was the Soul Stone. That is what made, or the Mind Stone. That is what made him his own unique person. When Thanos ripped out the Mind Stone and Vision turned gray, that was because he lost his life. Because he no longer had this stone imbuing him with a consciousness, with a soul. But he's still completely machine. His body is still a computer. Ultron is still in there. You know, it's like you break a hard drive, if you take it to a forensics expert, they can fix it. You know, and like it can be expensive sometimes, but pretty much any hard drive, unless it's like shattered beyond repair, the data on it can be recovered. Now they changed the name of SWORD, the anagram in this. It used to be Sentient World Observation and Response Division. Yeah. But now it's Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division.
Yeah.
So SWORD isn't observing these distant worlds. SWORD is observing a weapon with a consciousness. There's only 2 of those in the MCU right now. Maybe 3. And 2 out of 3 of them are in this show. Actually, all 3 of them are now. So that would be Vision, the sentient weapon. That would be Ultron. And that would also be Wanda, Scarlet Witch. Because when she's fighting Crossbones and then he blows himself up and she tries to get him far away, but she can't, so he hurts those people. Tony is mad at Cap and he's like, "You brought a weapon abroad," or something like that. And that's when Cap's like, "She's not a weapon, she's just a child." So all 3 of our possible sentient weapons that SWORD could be observing and responding to are in this show. I think they're trying to recreate Vision, and they enlisted Wanda's help. I think that is the purpose of SWORD right now. Observe, respond. However, just like S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra, we already know from the end credit scene from Spider-Man Far From Home that the Skrull are that these shape-shifting Skrull are part of SWORD. We've seen them help Nick Fury. I think Hydra has also infiltrated SWORD. And while Wanda's whole purpose is to help them bring back Vision by maybe connecting with him somehow using her memories and her mind powers, because her powers came from the Mind Stone. Vision's life came from the Mind Stone. If anyone can replace the destroyed Mind Stone in him, it would be her. But I think Hydra has infiltrated SWORD with the purpose of not reviving Vision, but reviving Ultron. So that is
mind-blowing.
My theory.
Mind-blowing.
And to take it one step further, what did I show you today? A little similarity that I noticed.
The birth of Ultron compared with the closing credits of this show.
Yep. They are so similar, guys.
Very similar.
You have all these pixelated, like you're watching it on a TV, videos and images of stuff happening, just like every single end credits scene of this show so far. But then you also have all of these pixels, these random square pixels that are just connecting to like some cortex, but it makes like just like this big hallway full of corridors and these connections and all these pixels lighting up. I 100% believe that they are trying to revive Vision enlisted Wanda's help. Sword is compromised by who knows what part of Hydra.
Right.
Who knows if it's even the real Hydra. This Hydra might be compromised. And I think on top of that, Wanda is making some sort of connection. Like, I think she is straight up with his vibranium body, you know, like with like either connected to it, like Cerebro style, wearing a helmet that's like plugged into him, or just using her powers and like got her hand on him or whatever. But I think by doing that, she's created, you know, she clearly, this was a lot for her. And she's created her, it's not her own world, she's modified the world that she's in. We now know that because these are real people. But I think when you use your brain powers to change dimensions, I think extra dimensional monsters like Mephisto are able to get their hands in there.
Yep.
Especially if they have an agent working for Sword named Agatha Harkness, who's just some regular Sword agent. Oh wait, no.
Nope.
No, she's a wizard and she works for Mephisto. That's my theory.
Yeah. And what's nuts is this all could happen. Like everything, my parts of my theory and parts of your theory, I mean, it could all happen.
Yeah.
In the show.
And none of it could.
And none of it could. And that's what's so fun about speculation. I saw something that said that this show is more fun to speculate about than it is to actually watch.
Yeah, I could see that.
And at first I was like, oh, and then I thought about it. I'm like, well, yeah.
That's a good point. I'm super curious what our experience is going to be when the mystery's all unraveled, when we know it, when it's solved.
It has to be at the very end.
But I mean, when we go back and watch it again, you know what I mean? So many things have, like, I'm watching Attack on Titan right now, which a new episode comes out in 2 days, and I'm so stoked. But the one thing, I was talking to my friend Matt Yang about this, and the one thing I love about Attack on Titan is every single time I've finished a season, I then rewatch it, or I rewatch it. So I finished season 1, and then I rewatched season 1 after I finished it, and it was like a whole different experience with the things that they reveal later on. And it's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. I finished season 2, and then I go back to the beginning and I watch season 1 and 2. And the same episodes that were so different, the second watch in season 1, exact same thing. They're even more different now. And it's like, whoa. And then season 2 is the same way. Same with season 3, and we're on season 4 now. But so I've watched season 1, that would be at least 4 times doing it that way. And yeah, every single time I finish a season and then I go back and rewatch it, it's like I'm watching a completely different show. And I'm curious if it'll be a similar experience like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Rewatching this when we're done, where it's like, whoa.
It's gonna be that. It's gonna be that, but times 10. Because think about it. I mean, this is the beginning of the new phase.
Yeah.
So I mean, imagine 5 years from now, 6 years from now, we're gonna be able to point to this show and be like, oh, this is when this arc started for this character, and this is the beginning of Wanda's journey.
Yeah,
to becoming a villain. I think honestly, if you watch the episode,
ooh,
I think
I was wondering about that.
I think she's got some dark moments in this episode, and I just and also too. And I mean, if you think about it, look at this. If she's controlling the world, if these are people that come in and then can't get out, she's already acting like a villain. She's already not being a good person. Mm-hmm. Manipulating all these people and when you think about it, if Vision is real, like how does that affect Vision as a character? Like, is Vision happy that she's messing with his mind and having him redo his words and like messing with him?
So here's my question: do you think she's mostly purposely doing it though, or do you think she's confused and broken too?
I don't know, man.
So one of the things I saw, the windows behind her, because it was so interesting, because I was like, this is a dark moment. It was like a villainous moment. Yeah. But at the same time, all the windows behind her, they gave off like stained glass window vibes. And like she looked like a church painting. Or she looked like a church, like in a cathedral, you would see like this huge stained glass window and like the saint in the middle, you know, and like that's exactly how it was framed. There's just all these different colors, glass, and then just her in the center, and then all the different colored glass.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like, okay. So, like, and I think that had to do when she was looking over her children, if I remember correctly.
That makes perfect sense.
So, like, is she going to save them? Or is she, you know, is she, like, the one who is saving these characters in this world? And then there was another moment that...
Because those windows distracted me, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I hated that set design. I was like, man,
no,
those windows are... But you point... See, this is what I told you. He's going to make me come around and be like, oh, that was cool. Yeah.
So then there was another thing that I absolutely loved, which was Vision wasn't there for the birth of her children. And she was so scared. And Geraldine was with her. And the whole time that this is happening... And she's terrified. And she's like, first she's like, where's Vision? I need Vision. And Geraldine's like, basically like, no, you don't. And she's just like, there's no time. We can't get him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I can't do this without him.
Right.
And she's like, yes, you can. And it almost, so you have the different stages of grief and the different stages of, you know, depression and all that stuff. And the first stage is always acceptance. And I felt like there was this moment where, like, she clearly hasn't accepted it if she's made this whole fantasy world. She's modified the world for them to have their happy fairy tale life together. Mm-hmm. She clearly hasn't accepted it. But now this big moment in her life, Vision's not there, and she says, I can't do this without him. And Geraldine keeps saying, yes, you can. And she's like, you can do it. And she's like, you're strong. And I felt like that was her starting to come to terms with the loss of Vision.
That is that. It's funny, too, because after those words, after Geraldine says, I said you're strong. Like, you're so super strong. That is when that switch happens in her brain, where she goes from...
She starts remembering her brother.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only... But it's like, it's from, like, the good Wanda... to, oh no, you're strong, you're really strong, to her being like, boom, now I'm evil Wanda. Like, she kind of let it all go, in a sense, right? Yeah. Like she's tried to play like this happy, you know, mm-hmm. character, and now she's just like, nope, you reminded me of that Ultron, you reminded me of my brother, like, done. I'm not going to be...
It's wild.
The same. Yeah, we're dealing with a whole different level of Wanda. It's crazy.
I get chills. Sorry, I loved this episode so much. And yeah, and then you have, you know, because in the first two episodes, every time we saw Agnes, I don't want to say smug, because she wasn't like, you know, smug has like this cockiness to it, but she was just brimming with confidence.
Yeah.
And she clearly was letting on that she knows more than she's letting on, like, for the audience, you know. And in this episode, she's telling the neighbor, who again is like trying to tear down this wall, this thing confining him. She's like, like, don't talk, don't say a word. And Vision's like, what in the world? And she was like afraid. And that makes me think, okay, maybe she made a deal with Mephisto. You know, maybe she's not just some evil wizard working for Mephisto, but maybe she tragically, in a moment of weakness, made a deal for something she thought she wanted, but now she is a slave to a master greater than herself. And I didn't get that vibe from the first two episodes.
Very true.
She was just this confident, you know, like, oh, I'm in here now, and blah, 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 and let me help you make this dinner.
You thought she was more in control.
Yeah.
Or knew more. Which she probably does.
Yeah, she still does. I forget, I was going to quote it in the episode today. I forget what it was. It was the last thing she said to Vision, and she winked, and she rang the bell. on her. She like rang the bell on her bike twice, but it was such a good line. It was basically just like, I know what's happening, like, and I just loved it, man. Yeah, I just thought that all the dialogue in this whole episode, I was just like, it's so good.
All of them. I thought that from the first 2 episodes. I think the writing on this show is awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal.
I love it. It's not, to stretch and to keep, and I think, again, we're going to look back on this series and really praise it for what, obviously it's the first Marvel TV show.
Yeah.
MCU Marvel TV show.
Wild.
So that right there is historic.
Speaking of that, I just found out the Inhumans is on Netflix or on Disney Plus.
They bury that thing.
We'll have to watch
that. They don't promote that. But what was I saying?
It's the first Marvel TV show, and we're gonna praise it because like all the stuff it's doing.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh no!
Hold on, no. Wait. We'll get there. We're gonna praise it. We're gonna look back at it. The writing. Yeah. Oh, yes. So my point was, it's incredible that they've been able to... It's only been 3 episodes, but still I think it's crazy how they haven't revealed what's really going on in the show. Like 3 episodes in, they still managed to keep it entertaining.
That's true.
And they still haven't told you what the show's about. Realistically, they're not giving their cards away.
Yeah, that's true. And we had a lot of stuff we speculated about.
That's a feat all of its own, because that's tough to do, and that's ballsy. That's like,
yeah, we're
swinging for the fences.
We're about an hour and 10 minutes in. Mm-hmm. Like if this was a regular MCU movie, that's 2 hours and 15 minutes usually. That's more than halfway through the movie, and you don't know what it's about.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's some Shutter Island level of like what is going on here.
I did want to point out for people who, just to kind of put into context what's going on here and what's to come in the future. So, the budget on this show is very interesting, and it's very important to understand a little bit about that aspect of the show. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier has a budget of like $150 million roughly to make. Okay, don't quote me on that, but I know that Star Wars Mandalorian had a budget of $150 million. WandaVision has a budget of $225 million. Okay, so that's more than the Mandalorian. And we've only seen these 3 sitcom episodes. There's 9 episodes in total. And there's rumors that the episode lengths are going to get longer, but there's rumors that we're going to get an hour and a half episode possibly at the very end. But all in all, just to say, like, Disney is throwing, like, blockbuster movie level budgets at this show,
and that's important to note too. Yeah, and that's so important to note too, because like there haven't been too many special effects, and the ones that there haven't been that expensive.
Practical.
Yeah, like the CG I can think of is like Vision's face quickly changing, not even a slow transition where you see like the stuff change. Mm-hmm. It's just like boop, and then a little like color line like outlining his stuff. It's like and then all of a sudden it's so like, that's not $1 million, that's not $100,000 effect. That's a very simple effect, and like practical costs money, but for so far the stuff we've seen, spinning pictures and Vision flying and floating a little bit, doesn't cost that much. Like we're probably not even at 1% of the budget for this show at this point.
Yeah,
the actors, you were mentioning this earlier, like we know about Robert Downey Jr.'s contracts for stuff, and that's all loaded on the back end. He doesn't get paid up front for the movies. Like, no, put that towards the budget of the movie. I'm going to get paid in residuals. I'm going to get paid based off of what this movie makes, because I know it's going to be successful.
Yeah, Marvel's hit that point.
And we can kind of assume, we don't know for sure, we haven't seen their contracts, but we would assume that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany's contracts are similar to that. So it's not like, oh, well, 10 million probably went to Paul Bettany and this many million went to this person, this many. Probably not. Maybe for some of the smaller actors, but at that point, when it's the smaller actors, you're talking about a few 100,000 here, a few 100,000 there, which sounds like, oh, it's just a few 100,000. But when you're talking about over 200 million, that's not even a percent.
And Disney's got the money too, so it's not like...
So that means, like, yeah, if we've seen, like, less than 1% of this show's budget, I'd say maybe, maybe we've seen $2 million worth of budget, because Hollywood doesn't, so if we've seen $2 million worth of budget, then that's 1% of the budget, and we're a third of the way through the show. So
yeah,
if you guys think these episodes are zany, it's only getting zanier. Just because we're about to see
just wait
a ton. It's wild. We got any new comments?
I can take a look at some of the comments here. What do we got going on?
I'm gonna switch it back over to you. Oh no.
I know W&G fan asked a little while ago. He said, "What did they say that Vision was made of in Infinity War?" And I don't remember.
I don't remember based on Infinity War, but I know in Age of Ultron when he's made out of vibranium. That's why Ultron gets the help of Ulysses Klaue and goes to Wakanda to get all this vibranium. That's where he cuts off Klaue's arm, as he's getting all the vibranium to make his other Ultrons, but more importantly, he's getting the vibranium to make his new body, which becomes Vision's body. So the same stuff as Black Panther's suit, which is crazy powerful.
Yeah.
And it can phase through things, which is so cool too. And I just want to take a quick second while Tyler's reading over these comments to say, because I see we have quite a bit of people who have been watching this, and I appreciate that so much. Yeah. And I just want to say, if you have not liked this video, like it, please, and thank you. It's always encouraged, never required, but I don't know how YouTube's algorithms work. All I know is the more likes you get while you're live, the more YouTube pushes it out and it gets more eyes on the project and on the live stream, and more people are able to find it. So if you are enjoying this stream so far and you haven't dropped a like yet, we would super appreciate if you drop a like. Even if you don't feel like you have to. Don't feel like, oh, well, I'm going to go now. Every single person who's just viewing means the world to us. So thank you so much for being here with us. I realized I meant to say that a little more this episode. I try to do it just kind of frequently because I don't know who's coming in and out. But yeah, so I just want to take a moment and say, if you haven't liked the video, we encourage you to like the video. And thank you so much for spending your time with us on a Friday night.
Yeah, hopefully
hear about the MCU.
Good night. Friday night. It's Friday.
And for everyone who's tuned in afterwards as well. Yeah, totally. If you're not watching this live, thanks for taking some time out of your day to hear us talk about some of the movies and TV shows that we love.
Back to the comments.
Did I leave a comment? I don't think I did. If I did, it would be like, yo, Tyler's hat is cool. North Face, please sponsor us. Or something like that.
Oh, Mason said, don't forget when the aspect ratio switches to 4:3 to full HD at the end of episode 3.
I loved that transition. I thank you, Mason. Thank you so much.
He said that cost $37 million. Just that transition right there.
It was so... Okay, yeah, because they did that in the other episodes too. But I loved it in this one. I felt like it was slower. And it was so smooth. Like... It kind of, like... You have all sorts of wipes in editing when you're making something. Mm-hmm. But Star Wars just has a particular wipe. Mm-hmm. Where you just watch it, you're just like, oh, that feels like Star Wars. Like, that wipe is so cool. When it, like, it's
Thank you for that 13th like.
Hey, 13. I think when I asked for likes, we were at 11. So whoever the two of you were, you guys absolutely rock. Thank you so much. But it's one of those things where it's like, I felt the same way when the aspect ratio was changing. Because a lot of times when the aspect ratio changes, it'll just slowly zoom or whatever. But this one, it went wide and then after it went wide, it went skinny. I thought that was so cool. We switched to regular full HD, and then we switched to widescreen cinematic.
Yep.
And I was like, ooh, this is some, like, I felt like that was the moment where they were like, this is the MCU. You know, because, like, that's, like, a cinematic aspect ratio.
Yep.
We've switched to full screen so many times, but we haven't switched to that, what is it, 21:9 or whatever?
16:9.
16:9. Yeah, we haven't switched to that one yet. And I was just like, ooh, like, this is the same shape as a movie theater screen.
Some more comments. WNG fan says, I always thought that this whole sitcom reality is just a simulation for Wanda. Interesting.
I could agree with that to an extent. You know, like I was saying with my theory, I think she's straight up plugged into something. So, like, if she's plugged in, that simulation would be the program that she's interfacing with Vision with.
I should kick my camera.
Oh, no.
It's
You look good still.
I think we're all right.
But I just realized I'm like headlocking Pikachu. Get out of here, Pikachu!
Pika, help me! No.
I don't know what that was.
Oh my
It's getting later. But no, you know, like, I definitely could see that, like, this was created for her. This is the user interface of this program that she's helping with to recover Vision. But it's like she took more control of it. It's almost like in the end of the Matrix when, or not the end of the Matrix, I guess it's the very beginning of the third one. It's like in Matrix Revolutions when Neo comes out of the simulation, but he still has his powers.
Yeah.
Like, they could have crafted this world for her, but then she could have loved living in it and amplified it and made it real with her powers.
And maybe took control of it.
Yeah. Like, I definitely think she took control, but then I think she also, like, boosted it into reality. Like, I definitely could see that. That's a very good way to word it, W&G fan. That's what I was saying, man. This show is bonkers.
Thank you, W&G fan, for
contributing,
speculating with us, and making us see different sides of things and coming up with different.
Specifically for you, W&G fan. I mean, this is for anyone, but since you've been commenting, I want to say this to you. If you aren't in our Discord, Stream Elements is spamming it in the chat, but then it's also in the description below, so you can just click the link if you can click the link to join it. But the speculation doesn't need to stop here. You know, we're trying to have Discord always be popping. You get more direct access to us, but also other people in the community, and it can just discuss theories and speculations and other videos that you would want to see on the channel and just game with people. So I just want to invite you personally to join the Discord if you haven't yet. And that goes for every single person watching, not just W&G fan. If you want to join the Discord, feel free to. You are welcome with open arms. It has been growing. I didn't know how to do Discord for a while, so like we had like our core group of people that like we personally knew.
Yeah.
But then over like the last 2 weeks, we've gotten like 25% of the Discord, like 10 new people, and I'm just like, this is great.
That's
like
awesome.
I'm loving connecting with you guys. Like,
the community's gonna grow.
Here and seeing people pop up in multiple videos and speculating on different stuff, and yeah, it's just great speculating about this show. And now I'm kind of sad for when it ends, just because I won't be able, you know, I'm sure it's Marvel. It's going to lead to something else. There's still going to be some sort of speculation.
I have a question for you, W&G fan. Do you think there's going to be a season 2? You weren't around in our...
Oh, yeah.
For our other video, but we were wondering if there's going to be a season 2. So what does he think? If you're still there, let us know.
And then the only other thing that I want to bring up that I didn't... and this goes back to the second episode, but when Vision phases through the floor in the intro thing, we see like these different cubbies, and one of them has the helmet of the villain, the Grim Reaper, who is an antagonist. In the comics, his brother, I forget who his brother is. It's like some generic name, like Mighty Man or something like that. I forget. It's not Mighty Man, but something like that. But his brother's in the Avengers. He dies. He doesn't actually die because it's a comic, you know. Like, he was just in a coma that looked like death. But, and he personally blamed Vision for that for some reason. And he tries to antagonize Vision and take him down. But so seeing his helmet in the intro of the previous episode, that dude's not in the MCU yet. It's like, you're not going to put, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to put, like, Wolverine's helmet in the intro of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, unless Wolverine's appearing. You know,
Exactly.
that's not a thing to do. So it's like, okay, where does Grim Reaper play into this?
I know, right? Well, it's interesting too. I just thought about this because W&G fan says that he doesn't think there's going to be a season 2. But what if that whole storyline that you just mentioned with the Grim Reaper is season 2? Like, we figure out what's happening with them in this, like, in this sitcom bubble. But then Grim Reaper, doesn't show up until season 2. And that's a whole other story arc for season 2. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Or he may show up in this one. Which, if he shows up in this one, that's wild. Because to me, that seems like a lot of setup to get us there with the Grim Reaper. Like, do we have enough time to do that in this show when we have to answer all these other questions and deal with all these other people? Like, do we have time?
True. But I mean, maybe he works for Hydra in this world. Or you know what I mean?
True,
in the MCU.
yeah.
Maybe he's B guy. You know, I know there is some villain called the Beekeeper who's like a Z rank villain that like appears for like 2 panels in one comic or something like that, you know? Like, he's a super small role. But like, that wouldn't be the first time the MCU's combined people. So I'm not saying that's what I expect to happen, but I'm just saying anything could happen. This person could already be there. He could be one of the members of this town. You know, the simulation could break in 2 episodes. Who's to say they stay in this sitcom for the whole season?
Right.
You know, maybe the last 2 episodes they're out of it, and maybe he's one of the people who's trapped in this sitcom and he wants his revenge on Wanda for that. You know, like, there's so many things that can happen.
But yeah, and going to your Hydra thing, what's her name, Dottie?
Yeah, Dottie.
Her husband, in the second episode when Vision's like, oh, he's a communist.
Oh, yeah.
That's a direct link to Hydra, so I wonder if he's a Hydra agent.
Especially because Vision doesn't understand how to joke. They all took it as a joke. Thank you for reminding me of that, because what that told us when Vision said that is that man really is a communist. Like, that's not a speculation. That's a straight up fact that Dottie's husband's a communist.
Yep.
Which means Dottie might be too. But
they might be Hydra. Yeah.
But there's no, there's no Hydra in the general public's knowledge. I mean, there is now, like, they know about it after the events of Winter Soldier.
Right.
But if this is supposed to take place, in the 40s or 50s or whenever, then there's not.
Right. Well, yeah, we've had that speculation too. Are these in the real, like, are they really in these decades or not?
Yeah, and it's like, you had the whole Red Scare with communism.
Right.
But it's like, if it's an altered version of reality, but, if you're a good guy, I feel like if you're a good guy in the real world, you're a good guy in this world. If you're a bad guy in the real world, you're a bad guy in the simulation.
That makes perfect sense.
So I think anyone like Dottie would be a member of Hydra.
Yep.
I think her husband, communist, is straight up the equivalent of member of Hydra.
Yep.
I don't think Hydra exists in this simulation, but if you're a member of Hydra in the real world, you're a communist in the sim.
W&G fan, you say that Wanda's going to appear in the Doctor Strange sequel in the future. Yeah, it's rumored.
Yes, she is.
I don't know how specific this rumor is, but it's been rumored for a while that she's the villain in that movie.
Yeah, I know. I think I talked about that last week, where we don't know how much Sam Raimi is changing.
Shout out to Sam Raimi.
Yeah, Sam Raimi.
We're on that Spider-Man hype train.
If you haven't liked this video,
Spider-Man
like
3.
it for Sam Raimi.
Hey, if you like Sam Raimi, hit that like button. Also, if you're excited for Spider-Man 3 in December.
Lean over slightly, Tyler.
Lean over slightly.
Yeah, that's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man on that blanket behind him.
Yeah, what up?
What up?
If you like this Spider-Man, drop a like and shout out to Sam Raimi.
Shout out to Sam Raimi. We love you. But we don't know how much of Doctor Strange's script was done. We don't know if there was a completed script. We don't know if it was completed. How much did Sam Raimi change? But what we do know is that Scott Derrickson always has said, like, over and over and over, I only want to do Doctor Strange 2 if I get to make Nightmare the villain.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he was doing Doctor Strange 2. So that tells us that he got to make Nightmare the villain. But then he left because he wanted to make it too scary, according to, he wanted to make it a full-blown horror.
Right.
Where Kevin Feige was like, you can have horror elements. Look at Jurassic Park. The raptors, where the raptor scene was terrifying.
Or just look at, Sam Raimi.
Exactly. So that's
he's perfect for it. This mix of like.
But so you get to that question of, okay, if Sam Raimi didn't change the script and the script was done, then, he clearly would change it, otherwise it'd be too horror. But if he didn't change it that much and stuck with the general ideas, then Nightmare's going to be the villain.
Right.
But Nightmare, she affects people's minds and their reality. Wanda affects people's minds and clearly their reality because we can see it in the real world.
Right.
We can see that cloud of pixels and lightning, which is how it looked when Ultron was attacking Jarvis, by the way, just smaller scale. We see that giant cloud that they have like quarantined off with all these lights in the fence. So we know that it's real. We know it exists in the real world now. It's not completely in her head. So that tells us, okay.
I just thought of something else.
What if Wanda's Nightmare?
What if Wanda's Nightmare? What if, I got another theory. What if, so the Sword and Wanda, what if Sword was using Wanda to investigate the multiverse, like open the multiverse? What if that was her initial responsibility with Sword? And then that kind of adds to my theory a little bit, because then Mephisto comes in and says, oh, why don't you go over and do this? I can bring Vision back. Hey, I know you're supposed to, that's how he broke in, right? I would assume that her exploring the multiverse is the reason why I'm on the Mephisto train. But I think that's how, we said it before, but that's how maybe he got in.
So now your theory made me have another theory too. So I have this theory. I don't really talk about it publicly because I want to be the first one to make a video about it. But looks like I'm going to mention it now. So that just means I'm going to have to make this video soon. So get hyped, because I think I have the most comprehensive Marvel theory there is. But the Infinity Stones have been reduced to atoms. Not destroyed, reduced to atoms. They still exist. But either way, they don't exist as the stone. The stone itself is fractured. The stones are what held the reality of of the MCU universe together. So destroying the stones could be the reason that Mephisto was able to get in, if he is in. But I'm gonna make a video, and it's going to be called The Infinity Stones Wanted to Be Destroyed. Because so many people just always mention the Soul Stone is special. The Soul Stone is special. It's the only one that has consciousness. But it's not.
I thought they all did.
But the Soul Stone's the only one that that's what everyone would say. The Soul Stone's the only one that has consciousness, because it makes you do something before you have to give up something you love before it deems you worthy of having it. So everyone's like, why is the Soul Stone so special? I don't understand where that comes from. Literally, in the Avengers, in the very beginning of the movie The Avengers, it's acting up. It's one of the worst lines in the MCU, but the stone's acting up. This is before S.H.I.E.L.D.'s whole facility gets destroyed and Loki comes. And Nick Fury's like, what's going on? And then Eric Selvig is like, it's not me, it's the stone. Or he's like, the stone's misbehaving.
Yeah.
And then Nick Fury's like, misbehaving. Is that supposed to be some sort of joke? And I'm like, what? Why would that be a joke? That I hate that line. Anyways, there can be bad lines in great movies, but
Of course.
that right there tells us the stone has a consciousness, and that's for the space stone. And then these other ones, affect people. What's the aether? The aether is the power. No, it's not.
That's
power.
red. That's reality, right?
Reality, yeah. The reality stone. It affects. Wow, I can't think. Natalie Portman, Jane. It affects Jane Foster and changes her personality.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, it has a consciousness. The Mind Stone. Are we really gonna say that the stone that has the power of mind, that has the power of consciousness, doesn't have consciousness? The stone that gave Vision consciousness in life. And then even the Red Skull says when he held and clearly the stones are all connected, because he says when he held the Tesseract, it deemed me unworthy and sent me out or cast me away. Mm-hmm. But it didn't just cast him away. It sent him to be the guardian of the Soul Stone. Like, these stones are working together. They're connected.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that the Beyonder was imprisoned by the four element. Marvel's about to get crazy, first of all. And I've been saying this for years. But we know the four cosmic deities exist because we see them in the temple of the Power Stone. And then we see them again when the Collector is talking and he shows the stone and he tells the story of the creations of the stones. You see them all creating the stones. I think the four cosmic deities were threatened by the Beyonder because he was all powerful. So they separated his power into 6 stones and imprisoned him in them. And that's why he's been playing Thanos this whole time. He's been manipulating these situations. He's been sending the Red Skull using the Space Stone, using his power of space since he's held the Space Stone. He sent him to be the guardian of the Soul Stone. The stones wanted to be destroyed so the Beyonder could be freed. I 100% believe that. I'm going to make the whole video with the receipts. But
yes,
if these stones have consciousness, sentient weapons observe and respond.
Mm-hmm.
Sword could be about rebuilding the Infinity Stones, starting by rebuilding Vision.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Bombs dropped on this show.
So, I'll
Wanda
put that one there.
W&G fan, yes. Wanda was a product of the Mind Stone.
Exactly. So who better to rebuild it?
Yep.
Especially since her brother is dead, But we'll see if he stays dead. But that's all I've got for today.
Yeah, man, I think that wraps it up, man. Thank you for we're up to 15 likes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. Seriously appreciate it. We're glad that you like this content because it is coming every Friday night. It's not normally going to be live. Normally we would watch it and then record this and then upload it late as a premiere later in the night so we can be chatting with you guys. But
I like the live.
I like this live format. We might have to do it a little more.
Yeah,
so
I really like it.
Very excited.
We should mention our other shows that we have on the channel.
Yes, I agree.
Definitely. I have a show called The Rendered Image. This is where we dive a little bit deeper into the filmmaking aspect of the world. It's centered around Marvel. We definitely kind of mention some of the stuff we talk about here, but we jump into other films and talk about the...
It's like specifically film. This channel, we're very film and gaming centric.
Yeah.
We cross pollinate. I cross pollinate a little more right now, but we're getting Tyler's feet wet in the gaming side of things. Mm-hmm. But I'm more the gaming right now, and he's more the movies and TV shows. But it's one of those things where the rendered image It's just movies. It's just TV shows. It's the news about it, but it's just a couple things that Tyler wants to discuss with you guys in depth. But then following up, it's like, oh, but there's game news too. You're right. There is game news too. And there's more movie news than you can just describe in the rendered image.
Exactly.
So it's a good thing we have our podcast called The Pop Culture Cave. It was supposed to start this morning, but as you guys notice, there haven't been streams the past couple days. I'm staring at my vocal booth right now, and there's a big opening where the door needs to be. There's a door for it over there, and then in the garage, there's a couple pieces of drywall still that need to get turned into part of the door. I've been working nonstop. I got a better workout in doing that stuff than I did doing Ring Fit. So
Right.
Ring Fit will be back tomorrow. Oh yeah, well that's the other thing. I stream Ring Fit Adventure, Nintendo's RPG exercise fitness game, Monday through Saturdays in the morning, and Smash Bros with viewers, with you guys, if you guys want to play Smash with me, Thursday nights, probably 10:30, sometimes 11. It just kind of depends what the day's looking like. But Thursday nights, Smash Bros with viewers.
Yep.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, the rendered image with Tyler.
It might just be Tuesdays depending on my schedule.
It might just be Tuesdays depending on his schedule.
I'm super busy.
He's super busy.
School takes up a lot of my time.
School takes up a lot of his time.
We're making a thesis film.
He's making a thesis film.
But that's also what we'll do on the show as well. I might bring in some projects that I'm working on. We're in the middle of developing a story, and so we might just spend some time and talk about story ideas, and you might just get to see me develop my film. So
awesome.
I think that'll be a fun journey to take us on.
But if none of that sounds interesting to you and you were just here for MCU content, come join us again next Friday night for the next episode of MCU Reviews, where we will once again be talking about WandaVision.
Yes.
This time episode 4, but also the whole show up to episode 4. You got to speculate the whole thing together.
We'll be in the 80s.
We'll be in the 80s. But I think that is it for today's content. Thank you guys for all the love. Thank you guys for dropping all these likes like a elbow, catching us so off guard with that. Super appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. The Discord is spammed in the chat. Would really love for you to join if you haven't yet, just because we're building a pretty awesome community and we would love for you to be part of it. Tyler, you got anything else to say?
No, I just hope that everyone is having a great 2021. I'm super thankful that we get to watch this show in the beginning. I think it's a great way to start the year. I'm super excited. Marvel's back after this hiatus.
Marvel's back.
I'm sure all of you Marvel fans are
2020's over. Marvel's back.
2020's over. Marvel's back. It's what we needed all year. But thank you so much for joining, and I cannot wait to come back next week and see where our theories are going to go after next week. You know, I'm so excited to come back.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I guess that's it for today, guys. Let's watch Tyler's awesome MCU review bumper that he made. I just always want to flex that you made that. That thing you saw in the intro, Tyler made that. That's what we're signing out with. Let's watch that again. Stay awesome.
Bye, guys.